Good evening, one and all. Welcome along. It is season 3, episode 53, and Paul just beat the buzzer to join us on time. How are things, gentlemen?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Doing good. Mike, how are things?
Yeah, all good. I've been putting up a bunk bed for Travis, so he's sleeping up there, 6 foot high and very happy.
Nice. As someone who used to do something similar back in my teenage days, sleeping on top of a bunk bed, you cannot beat it.
Oh yeah, he's very happy up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Will Ellie be moving in eventually, or will Ellie be having her own little princess room?
Oh yeah, she already has. She's got like this pink, weird jellyfish type looking room. But yeah, welcome to the painting and decorating podcast.
Oh, absolutely. So, as usual, we get right off track straight out of the gates. But tonight we are talking, primarily we're talking edge, pass rushers. We will be dropping in one interior defensive lineman into our group of 6. But just before we get into the main bones of things, obviously we want to bring you back up to date with what's happened. So over the weekend, the Cowboys have signed. They've got Luke Gifford done. They've got Jaron Kearse back on a 2-year deal, and Brian Anger this evening has been re-signed on a 3-year deal.
Yes.
How are you both feeling about those signings?
Brian Anger, happy.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah. I'm not going to be jumping over the walls to say, oh, yeah, we're going to win the Super Bowl because we just re-signed the punter. But but when you've had, like, Anger was very consistent. He was probably...
Second team All-Pro.
Yep, so...
Broke a Cowboys record.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm happy. I'm definitely happy he's back, for sure.
Yeah. And then, obviously, added to that, we also had the addition of James Washington and Dante Fowler as our first outside free agents added to the team. So, for me, I think their depth, and it's a typical Will McClay move. He's signing guys and not married them. These guys could be cut before the season even kicks off.
Yeah, they're nice cheap contracts that, you know, if they don't work out in training camp, they can cut them.
Yeah. Me and Meg kind of spoke briefly on this, and the whole theme between the James Washington and his other name just completely
Dante Fowler.
Dante Fowler. They're safety blanket signings. They're just they're safety blankets. So, like, if they were to come out and ball out, great, it's a steal. But they're just there to fill the void, essentially. Like, I could see James Washington being more like the Cedric Wilson, pretty much now. So
he's going to replace Amari Cooper as more the outside receiver to keep Lamb in the slot. That's what I want. If he does stay.
Yeah. One thing myself and Mike were just mentioning this before we joined the show. And we didn't get a chance to talk to Paul about this. Mike put up a poll this morning on the group Facebook page and on the Twitter account, and you know, we talked about grading free agency so far. So, if you both want to give your opinions, and I'll wrap it up because I have one or two things I want to add to it.
I mean, like, if I was to give it a grade, I'd give it not a B plus or minus, just a B.
Yeah.
That's it.
C plus.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't done any, you know, okay, they've lost Randy Gregory. Amari Cooper's a big loss. That's a big one. But they've kept pieces that I've wanted them to keep. So they've kept, they you know, Anger was a big one. Kearse was a big one. I'm glad that one's been done.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I'm really happy about is the actual contract is actually not too bad. It doesn't hit us very badly at all.
No. You know, if you talk about cheapness of contract as well, but you look at Leighton Vander Esch's, that there are that he's a first-round pick, and I know you can say what you want, but he was coming on nicely, and in the San Francisco 49ers game, he was one of the shining stars. Yeah,
I agree.
He did what he needed to do.
I agree. He had a much better second half to the season compared to the start, for sure, 100%.
Oh, hell yeah.
But I just want to get your guys' thoughts. Like, I know where you just mentioned Randy Gregory and stuff like that, and I'm still not kind of over this whole scenario. Like, because in like the whole thing was a complete disaster from start to finish. But I am very disappointed, and I'm using my words carefully here. The word disappointed with Randy. After his Twitter spat. And I will say, and again, me and Meg kind of briefly talked about this, like I think not on the show for World's Team, but off screen.
Yeah.
But I guess I will say this, Randy, if it wasn't for the Cowboys, you would not be in the NFL right now. That's all I've got to say in that. You had Cowboys gave you every opportunity, gave you a support group. And for you to say, oh, you shouldn't, no one's saying you don't have to be loyal, but the fact is you are trashing the organization and trashing the fans.
And the fans, yeah. And the fans were just as patient, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, I think one thing to add to that as well is the support he got from his teammates. Like, I remember back when he served his second suspension, Jason Witten, Zach Martin, Jeff Heath, Travis Frederick, and most of the other major players begged, pleaded, and appealed to Roger Goodell to get him back into the building, to provide the structure that he needed in his life to sort out his own demons. And I don't want to get into the Randy Gregory thing because it will annoy me. That must be a slap in the face to those guys as well.
It is. But one thing I will finish off on this, and we don't want to talk about it further now because we are going to talk about edge rushers going forward anyway. But one thing I will say is it's like, if Randy expects not to get the same type of hits, if he was to get a violation in Denver, it would have been the exact same what he would have got in Dallas. So he himself has made himself look like to be an absolute idiot. So. End of story. So,
agree.
So moving on now from Randy. Wish you all the best. I hope you don't get high. But
but in terms of free agency, like I think we still have a lot to do because we have some holes to fill. Like obviously the offensive line were very thin there. We've lost Lyell, we've lost Connor Williams. Right now, Terrence Steele's your starting right tackle, and Conor McGovern's your starting left guard, and that is not going to cut it. So you would hope there is going to be some additional signings, but Paul's just bringing up a couple of comments there. So.
And the only other comment I want to make, mind you, on Leighton Vander Esch's contract is, again, that's another cheap one they can get off if they need to. But have a look at most teams that have, like that linebacker on their roster that they have as like, the special teams type guys. They're all on contracts that usually, they have at minimum $3 million. This is a guy who could be who is actually, he's going to be a starter if he does make it. He's going to be on a very low contract. And this is a guy who could essentially reinvigorate his career with this year with the Cowboys, with him and Parsons together and whatever else they put together.
Yeah. And don't forget Jabril Cox coming back as well.
Jabril Cox, he's going to come in at some point. I'll try and get an update on him. I'll ask them later.
If you look at it, right, this was a point Graham made in our own group chat, is we didn't take up the fifth year option on Leighton Vander Esch last season. We've effectively saved ourselves $6 million because his hit was going to be something like 9.1, 9.2 million if we'd taken that fifth year option. We have him for the fifth year. It's $3 million.
It's a bit of a blow to Leighton, to be fair, because he's not getting that extra money, but it's good for the us. But he will make that back some other way, shape, or form if it's for market.
Yeah.
They'll probably put more pushing him in the more marketing side of things to get that extra income for that loss.
Yeah.
That doesn't affect the cap.
And you've got to look at it this way as well with Leighton Van Resch, is he would have tested the market. Because I think you pointed out, Bri, is that I sent a message to Brian Brodus, and I said, what's going on with Leighton Van Resch? Is the market quiet on him? And within about 5 minutes, it was announced he's signing the Cowboys. But obviously, because of the amount of time that they had left it on free agency, he's obviously gone out there, tested it, and gone, it's not weird. Because bear in mind as well, something else that players, like you said, Paul, marketing side. Another thing that some players don't take into account is Texas, no state tax.
Exactly. If you're going to California, you should be asking more than double your salary. Easily.
It's happened before where players have gone, because I believe Florida doesn't have no state tax either, and I think it's gone. Where a player has gone there and gone to California, and he's earned less on that contract than he did on his rookie contract. And he's gone, what the hell is going on? There's something in the economics they forget about. Sorry, mate.
Well, put it this way: how much did Mike Williams get? Was it $20 million per year for Chargers? Can you imagine how much? Imagine how much tax he needs to, how much tax he'll need to pay on top of that.
Yeah,
like he's probably talking about what 25% at least of that going away.
Yeah,
we're in Texas. You get all of it pretty much.
Yeah, it don't. It is apart from the federal side of it.
Oh, well, federal tax is different. Yeah.
Like, but the one thing
sorry, I'll just say, guys, any of our American friends, can you please clarify just even a brief statement to say what taxes it is, and it's so that we're correct, because obviously we're not from the States. Just correct us if we're not doing this right.
yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever country you're from, you're born free and taxed to death.
Oh well, true to that. Sorry, Brian.
That is yeah. But like the one thing I want to bring up, and this was why I kind of asked you both about the free agency question and post that Mike put up earlier today, is everybody's getting their knickers in a twist and slamming the front office, and you're not signing big contract guys. Why are we not active in free agency? Why does this surprise people? Because for 10 years, our modus operandi has been we sign our own and then we look at free agents. If you look at the guys we've re-signed, Brian Anger, Jaron Curse, who we got on decent deals last season, later than this, in the second and third week of free agency. So it should not be a surprise to people that this is how the front office operates.
Yeah, but don't forget as well, is there's been massive trades now where Matt Ryan's now went to the Colts, and that's been that's been like over the week 2 now of free. Is this now week 2?
Yeah, coming into pretty much.
Yeah, coming into week 2.
But it just comes to show that any type of deal can still happen right now. We should probably briefly mention what's going on with Bobby Wagner. But for I kind of mentioned in the group chats, I don't really want to talk about Bobby Wagner until he actually signs the dotted line. That's where I'm because this is where it's after that previous experience with Randy, I'm just now getting to the point, unless it's in an official post from the Dallas Cowboys to say it's officially signed, that's when I'll be happy to actually talk about it. Until then, I don't want all these rumors to overcloud and stuff like that. It'll just consume you and destroy you. And next thing you know, if the deal doesn't happen, then you're going to end up mourning, complaining, saying, "Oh, front office this, front office that." So, and I mean, take Zadarius Smith right now. I believe he signed a 3-year deal with Minnesota.
Yes.
Yep. So, and there was talking about, he's meeting with the Cowboys, stuff like that. I mean, how much was that actually true? Let's be honest. It's probably all fabricated just to boost the Cowboys' media engine as usual, So, so
Mike, I think you wanted to jump in there, did you?
Oh, I was just going to say, add to Paul's point that that they wait for things to be official before saying anything. But that's literally how we run our social media. That a lot of people will throw conjecture and opinion and all the rest of it. We will only ever post it when we know it's fact.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just add into that.
Yeah, and like it is the great thing about the way we run things is we'll check with our sources in the US as well, because we do have people, and the thing is we won't post until we've kind of confirmed with them and it's confirmed to them, because we don't want to be adding to conjecture or anything like that. So, we might all love to sign Bobby Wagner and have him on our team, but until we know it's on the dotted line, we're not gonna be posting and saying he's coming. It's just not good for ourselves. But
we get told not even to use names.
Yeah,
they're like, yeah, you can say, like we did yesterday. We were like, news coming in, but it was like, don't say the name until it's officially. Like, okay,
we knew.
So,
we knew.
Yeah, it's just like that. It's just to protect ourselves and maintain the relationships we have, because we've worked very hard to cultivate all of these relationships over the years. But if we flip it over, and as we say, the point of these shows on the Tuesday night is to talk about draft prospects. And obviously, as things stand, we are light at defensive end, pass rusher, edge, however you want to designate the position. And we're going to talk about 6 guys tonight. Before we move into those 6, we are going to discount 3 guys. We're not going to talk about Aidan Hutchinson.
No.
We're not going to talk about Kayvon Thibodeau. They're not getting to 24. We're not trading up for them. So there's no point in us talking about it.
I'll tell you what, Brian, if you were, I'll be mad if we trade up. I'll be actually quite mad about it, because I do think at 24, there's going to be a good collection of players available. And that's like, there's going to be guards available. There might be Linderbaum available. There might be that wide receiver number 1, because that's enough. And that's now kind of hampered, obviously, with the Cooper situation. So, like, it could be like linebacker, and Kobe Dean might drop down. You may never know. Again, the draft is an absolute lottery.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, the third guy that we are discounting out, and I know Paul is devastated by this news, Graham is devastated, and Lauren is inconsolable right now. Unfortunately, and it's never nice to actually talk about this, David Ojabo tore his Achilles at his pro day for Michigan over the weekend.
I need
will
to
now
it.
slide.
I need to say this, Brian. Michigan should be an absolute shame of themselves. Their medical staff and the scouts,
all of them,
every single person,
just
stood there while Ojabo was lying there in pain, saying, "Yeah, I've pretty much done my Achilles in. Could someone help me?" It took them like 2 minutes to go over and see if he was okay, and they moved on to the next drill. I'm sorry, but Michigan, you should be ashamed of yourselves. That is just not on. And I wish David Ojabo the speed of recovery.
Yeah,
it will affect his draft stock now.
Like, 100%.
Like he is now definitely out the first round, unfortunately.
He's more like a third rounder now.
Yeah. Yep.
So, like, in reference, like I was talking to Brian about this before, the way generally scouts will do it is they'll give you your whatever your score is. So, like, say for instance, Ojabo, I think originally I had him as an 85 score, which is a first round, fringe first round player grade. Ojabo, what you would do is for an injury, you'll drop that down. So you'll give him an 80 score, which is a fringe second round. For a big injury, you'll go down again. For something like, say, like we had with Jalen Smith,
Jalen's was a lot
probably
more
go
worse.
further again, and you would want to take that further down again. And lo and behold, it took him 2 years to get to where he needed to be able to play, which is commendable. We got that time out of him, and now he's no longer there.
Yeah,
he's no longer in the league.
Yeah, and I think the unfortunate thing for Ojabo, and like the guys on the draft show on Dallas Cowboys Media were talking about this today, was obviously has first round potential, but very raw. He was not going to be an immediate starter. He was going to take a year to get himself up to speed. And obviously now it could potentially be all of next season that he's out, and then he's going to have to take that other year. And you're looking at 2024 before he's making a significant contribution. So unfortunately, it affects him. As I say, look, all of us here wish the guy a speedy recovery, and hopefully he does get picked up by somebody and he is able to heal fully and have a great NFL career.
Honestly, I would still love to draft him maybe in the third round and just have him there, like whatever. But I will say, like, when me, Graham, Jamie, and Lauren were doing the mock draft last week there. My thought process, like, this was before the whole Devontae Adams trade happened, and I was like, a good place for like Ojabo to go to would be like Oakland, Las Vegas, because you're going to be learning under Chandler Jones and Max Crosby.
Yeah,
that'll be two good guys you can learn from to learn your craft from. So I kind of thought, if that was the case, that would be a good spot for Ojabo, but I would love to have him over here and learn from like D-Law and whoever, so
yeah. And like I say, the issue is that for all rookies, it's that developmental time. The most important time is their first 3 years, and he's going to spend the first half of that 18 months doing nothing. He's just basically on the sofa recovering, and that's the issue that people have in drafting a player like that, with that sort of injury.
Yeah.
It's a killer.
So it is. So having discounted those 3 guys, the 6 guys that we are looking at tonight are George Karlaftis from Purdue, Jermaine Johnson from Florida State, Kingsley Enagbare from South Carolina, Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State, Travon Walker, interior defensive lineman from Georgia, and the Boye Mafe from Minnesota are the 6 guys.
Are we not going to talk about the 2 boys from Georgia as well, the 2 interiors?
We can slice.
Travon Walker is interior.
Nah, I would say though he's going to be defensive end in the NFL.
Yeah,
because of his body type. But you're on about Jordan Davis and
Devontae Wyatt. Yeah.
And Devontae Wyatt. We'll throw them in at the end if we've got time.
Yeah.
We'll skip through each one so we can at least give them their, because you never know. Jordan Davis could be a guy. You were saying, Paul, don't trade up. There's a guy they might trade up for.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't see it happening.
They might.
You never know.
If Jordan Davis is at 24, I would expect us to go for him ahead of a guard because he's like the best player available.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Who are we going for first, though, Bri?
So I think the first guy. Look, let's start with Travon Walker. He's the highest ranked guy available on my board. So let's talk about him. This guy is a definite first round talent. I'm on record. I said I would stand on the table for this guy. And for me, I would trade up for him. But
you would trade up for him, would you?
I would consider a trade up for him.
See, now, like I said to you before about my scores, an 85 is a first round score.
Yeah.
So, this guy is the closest to a first round score. I got an 84.99.
Mike.
Yeah, that's really, really close. But go on, what is it then for you, mate? What are you liking about him?
For me, it's I hate to use the term position flex, but he can play edge. He can play in the middle and can shoot gaps. He has a little bit of strength. The one knock on him is his hands are not great, so he is going to have to learn to use them better. He's going to have to learn punching. The punch moves better to create separation for himself. His bend around the corner is still not great, so his hips need to improve a little bit. Those are the ones that I've seen and what I've investigated on him.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his statistics right now. So he's had over like 596 defensive snaps from 2021 season. 381 of those were the pass rushing snaps, and 189 were down to run defense. And in terms of the snap of alignment of his assignment, his A gap, which is very unlikely, so that's him being pushed inside, is very. So he can do it, but not very often. But his B gap is 105, but it's outside. He's definitely more of an edge come from the outside. Yep.
Yeah.
So. More of his body type as well. If you look at his body type, it is more like when you think about him trying to get.
He's 6'5". He's 275 pounds. He's an absolute.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, he is. But I mean, in terms of like the way he moves and the way that he plays on the ball, because he's got massive arms. I can give you some more stats if you want. Right, his wingspan is 84.25 inch, and his arm length is 35.5. So just so you know, both of those rank in the 96th percentile. He's a massive guy. He's huge, and for me, and that's really where he wins. That and power are his two main ways he wins. So he's just got these long limbs, a lot of power, and yeah, he does have versatility because they in Georgia they used him on the flats as well in pass coverage. You've seen that a lot with him on tape. But he is a bull rusher. He's a bull rusher on the outside as that big edge type guy. Because the issue that he does have is, although he's versatile, he doesn't have much in versatility in terms of pass rush moves. That it's a bull rush. He's got the swipe, and that's about it. That's really how he's going to try and win and beat on the guy. But like I say, it is impressive because a guy that size, he is able to get out. And I think I'm if I can try and get some of his stats up.
Language.
He was used. He was. Sorry. He was used. What did I say?
You F-bombed it there.
Oh, did I? Never mind. That he is used in coverage as well on some of the snaps, and you've seen that. But like I say, and the other issue you've got as well is he's not going to give you 4 quarters of play, and you see that.
Yeah.
That when he gets into the fourth quarter, that consistency goes down and the motor disappears.
I'm just also looking at the trends for him right now. Like obviously his stock is definitely rising up, and as much as this pains me to say this, like I'm looking at the teams that are most likely to draft him and the position and whereabouts he's more likely to get picked. It's the Giants, Lions, and Eagles. That's the top 3 teams are more likely to kind of maybe make the move on him.
Yeah. It makes sense with the Giants and the Eagles having 5 picks between them. It wouldn't surprise me. The Giants love a taken defensive line.
And at the
that
combine,
team also does as well.
He absolutely smashed the combine though. And for a guy of his size, on his height weight chart, he's right at the very top because like 272 pound he weighed in at the combine, and he ran a 4.51 on the 40. That's like 99 percentile. Jumps all of his hops up in the top 80s. And here's what's most impressive, which gives you an idea of the guy's bend on the edge, is his 3-cone drill. You run a 6.89, which is faster than some wide receivers. That's like 94th percentile. It's massive. Yeah. Absolutely crazy to see.
So the thing for me, right, is this guy is not going to be someone you're going to play in the middle. He is going to be primarily an edge rusher.
Yes.
And that seems to be the bit of a knock on him coming out of Georgia is he being a bit too versatile that he'll need to just play one position. And at 270 pounds, he is never going to be a proper defensive tackle. No. You want to have him settle in and play all of his position at edge rusher.
Mm-hmm. But, when you see him play inside as well, because he has trouble on when he has played on the inside, you'll see it where he has trouble wrapping up the tackler. The ball carry, the running back, because you do see that, and you see that in the open field too. That when he's trying to tackle in the open field, he can trouble and playing, like in a phone booth in that small gap. Although his 3-cone is good, when it was on the field, it hasn't been projected. And what is crazy is when you think of in Georgia, amazing defensive line, amazing, like that entire box there at Georgia was just phenomenal. It was an NFL. We were saying it in the season. It's an NFL ready defensive front they had there, and of all of that, you would expect then for Walker to be more productive if that's the case. You'd be like, this guy's going to be out. So his stats are going to be crazy. His production on the field is going to be through the roof. And it just wasn't. It wasn't what you was expecting. And especially with that amount of experience, you would have expected to see more production and more refinement in some of the things he does, especially in his pass move techniques.
Yeah. The other knock for me was some of the scouting games that I looked at. I looked at the SEC championship game. It was a non-factor.
Yeah.
Alabama absolutely isolated him, took him out of the game and played around him. And is that something that's going to translate at the NFL level as well? I mean, he's not going to attract the attention as much because you're obviously in the NFL, you're playing with better players.
Yeah.
But when you're playing that higher caliber of team, is he going to get blocked out of the game?
If he's on the inside. I don't like him. If you play him on the inside in the NFL, he's going to lose. Definitely, 100%. Like, the biggest issue with him, as I say, is that he's really only got the 2 moves, the bull rush and the swipe.
Yeah.
And he does have the long arms to get the reach to stop offensive lineman getting on the inside of him, especially those tackles that you expect him to be on if you play him on that side of the line. So, I do think his power is most translatable. Is the most translatable part. His bull rush is it is phenomenal. He is powerful. Yeah.
Paul, take us home. Any further thoughts on Trevon before we move along to the next player?
No, I'm happy to move it on.
You're happy to move along. Okay, so if we flip it over into pure edge rushers, George Karlaftis out of Purdue, is probably a guy who's not getting enough attention. He's not considered a sexy name. He's played in Purdue, and this is a guy who's going to sneak up on people, and I have a feeling he could go top 10, top 15 quite easily.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I just have some issues with his style of versatility in his game. That's the big thing that comes out. And, the big one as well is for you to be a 3-down edge defender in the NFL, you need to be able to stop the run. And that is a part of his game he does struggle with. He does struggle against the run.
Yeah.
Go on.
I'm just looking at his statistics.
Yeah.
His snaps by alignment again. He's only had 5 snaps. So in 2021, he had 5 snaps heading into the B gap, 12 in 2020 and 29. So he's actually decreased the amount as the years go by from going into the inside, going to the B gap, and his production for the outside tackle, for going into the outside, like C gap or 5 gap, whatever you want to call it, you're talking about 95% is always outside and 5% inside. So it's not very diverse. It's basically one trick, I would say. Like, I know it sounds...
No, I agree with you. What's the best way to put body? So this guy, of all the edge defenders, is in terms of, we were talking about it with Trayvon Walker, that lower body power. Karlaftis, that is it. His lower half is and if you go and check his jumps at the combine were all in the 80 percentile. So he is strong. The issue with him is that he doesn't provide much else in terms of pass rush move, but most of that is down to the fact that he has short arms and a short wingspan. Like both of them were in like the teens in terms of percentile. He's really like 31, I think, was 31-inch reach was is combine, which is small, which means that what he has to do is he has to push on the inside and provide power, and to throw into that, which is why this is where the combine does come in handy. Is that he only threw up, I think, like 20 on the bench, which is like in the 30th percentile, which isn't that much, especially with a guy with short arms playing the style that he does. And I think that's why people find it unset that he had like this thing where everybody was thinking this guy is a 4-3 defensive end, and he is powerful, and you were just expecting more from him at the cup. We knew that the arms were going to come up short, knew those measurements were going to be bad, but then when he throws up a bad bench to go into that, you just think, for the style of game that you've got, I want to see more. And as I say that, the first thing you need to be able to do as as an edge defender is set the edge and be able to play the run, because that keeps you on for all 3 downs. If you can't do that, you're no good on early downs. So you need to come off. And that's the trouble really with Karlaftis. He does it, and the issue is that he could do quite well against the run. But the issue is that he takes these unneeded angles that you see all the time. There's these weird angles on it, and Paul knows what I'm talking about. That they're taking these unneeded wide angles on the outside to come in, and you just think, well, why are you doing that on the run? Because now you're in pursuit, and that's not something that you're really good at.
And looking again at his stats, the majority of his pursuits are quite significantly high because he's getting himself out of that position. Yeah, he's actually making his job a lot harder, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely, and especially when he's not that type of guy. I mean, hold on, let me just check. Did he do any of the runs? No, he didn't. He didn't do any run.
Put it this way: he's had 35 hurries in 2021, 29 in 2019, and obviously back in 2020 he only played 3 games. So because I don't know if it was just due to injury or whatever. So
reduced season in the Big Ten.
Yeah, because of COVID.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have
the one thing I do give credit for is that for me, Karlaftis' best game in 2021 was against Notre Dame in the biggest game in their season. He was on the field for all 3 downs in the series. He showed up, and I mean, Notre Dame always have good offensive linemen. So you're not playing dentists or anything like that against them. You're playing big, tough dudes, and he didn't look out of place in that game. So that would lean toward me looking at him going, he has the ability to play at NFL level. He has plenty of pass rush moves. He's able to use his hands. He can get free. He has a good high IQ. But as you say then, feeding back into it, the power. Is the power there to shed blocks if he has to, move into the interior?
For me, I got no problem with the power. Like, of all the guys, he's probably the most powerful power rusher in this year's class. The issue is just that it's the run defense and the short arms.
Yeah.
And they are a concern. Yeah. We've seen that before. We've seen a guy in Dallas who was a pure bull rusher with short arms, and he was gone. We took him in the first round, and he was gone within 2 seasons.
That is
Taco.
Yep. I can't believe you said it.
I know, I swore.
Yeah, I could hear it.
Mr. Taco Charlton.
Yeah. So we've seen it before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything else with him, there's so much with Karlaftis you can like, you know. But like for instance, another guy we are going to talk about, Boyo Mafe. He's very much similar to Karlaftis, but the parts of the game where Karlaftis fails, Maffe's can do. He has that, yeah. He's got that. I read somewhere as well, I'm not sure where, but I read somewhere that Karlaftis actually trained with MMA fighters, you know, to do with all the hand fighting and body movements. And I was like, impressive. I have to find out. Like, it was like hand-to-hand combat and all of that stuff, you know.
It'll be more of the jiu-jitsu side and the wrestling
probably,
side.
Yeah. He did like hand-to-hand combat stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, my take on Karlaftis is I don't think he will make it to the Cowboys at 24. If he did, I wouldn't mind. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list as well. All them years ago, and you know that. Though all of those guys on Bruce Feldman's lists have always come up trump. He doesn't mess around on that list. But yeah, he, you know, very powerful guy. Can get leverage that way. Yeah, you know, there's just the issues of the arm and all the rest of it, really. You know.
Paul, where is he looking at being taken? Who are the teams that are potential landing spots for him? Because as Mike says, I don't think he gets near the Cowboys at all.
Right, I'll give you guesses.
You've already mentioned,
but there is one other team. No, there is one other team.
Eagles has gotta be one.
Eagles are one of them.
Yeah, it has to be.
Who's the others?
Giants.
Giants is two, and this is and the third one is different. Where do you think the third one is?
I think I've suspiciously heard his name being mentioned for Green Bay.
It will be Minnesota. Well,
I was going to say NFC North.
Yeah.
According to this, it's Minnesota, but I don't think that might be the case there because now they've brought not with Zadarius Smith signing for them. So
they're right. Yeah. It's going to be an NFC North team, I would say.
Yeah, this Darius Smith thing could also be a depth signing. In the same way as we're talking about signing late Van Der Esch up and, you know, bringing back guys, they could be cut in the morning. So, it's, you know, they could be covering their base. But, yeah, like NFC North, any of the NFC North teams could be interested in him as well. But if we flip it to a warmer climate and talk about Jermaine Johnson.
Ah, yes. Oh, Jermaine. Do you know what? I actually like Jermaine Johnson. I really do. Because, like, he's just... everything you have with Jermaine is... everything's good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no, like... Oh, well, that's crap. Or that's average. Everything is just good. You know? He's got a 1.55 10-yard split and a 4.58 40. And you go... That's really, really good. That's in like the 90th percentile. Broad jump of 125, 92 percentile. Arm length, wingspan, all in the 60 percentile. And then you watch his game and everything. Once you start going through it, you just go, well, that was really, really good. And there's nothing that really makes you go that he's elite at. So that makes you like that perfect prospect for a first round pick. But he is just really good at generally everything in that sense. And you watch him as well, season by season, grow into the role. And that's what I like, is that there's just always that point. And the good one, the one I really like, is his physicality and his aggression at the point of attack. I mean, this guy, he's absolutely nasty. And, you know, like if you put him between the tackles, you'd be surprised. You just think you think this other guy at 250 odd pound isn't going to be that. You know, he is. He's effective. He spent a lot of time in the gym, clearly, because when you watch him from his freshman year to his final year, he looks totally different. But he's still with it all. He's still loose. Got all the pass rush moves in the bag that you want. So generally, this is just like a guy where you know, like when you're giving out. When you're doing your scores and you're doing everything else, you're just going, tech. He's a first round scorer on my board, which is a good plus to begin with. Yeah, like I say, he's just like a man that will just keep going. And the problems I had with the other players is that by the fourth quarter they seem to be gassing out. No, his motor is still going in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Of all the guys that we've mentioned so far, if you want to be more in the statistical point of sense, that guy has the more, like, I don't know, what's the thing that the Thierry Henry was, the je ne sais quoi, like, you've got a lot more like numbers, like he's got more sacks, he's got more more hits than the other guys that we've mentioned so far. And I'm actually impressed of how many snaps he took in 2021. 736 snaps.
Yes.
That's a lot.
And they'll be asking him to pass rush like no one's business.
Well, now that you mentioned about the pass rush, his outside rush is 690 snaps. 690.
Yeah.
So is the knock on this guy that obviously he's played a couple of seasons in JUCO, he's played a couple of seasons for Georgia, finished up in Florida State. Is it a case that he just didn't stick, he wasn't a system fit, or why have the numbers become so good in 2021?
Yeah, basically it was his experience. So really playing pure defensive end, he's only 1 year, which is his last year.
Yeah.
He's built into that role.
Well, I don't know, Mike. I'm just looking at the year by year. It seems as though because he's now been given the push to be the starter, he just completely excelled. Because looking at 2020 and 2019, he only had 100. Well, 2020 had 189 defensive snaps. 2019, 214. So you could say he was more that third down type of thing. Like he would come, like I wouldn't say he was necessarily a starter for those 2 years, but this year he just completely took off pretty much.
Yeah. What I would imagine is his sack production and his hits and hurries the other 2 years would be a lot quieter because he's being more used in pass coverage on those seasons when you go back and watch it.
So 2019 had 2 sacks, 4 hits, and 12 hurries. 2020 a bit more quieter, a bit more in the sacks. He had 4 sacks, 3 hits, and 4 hurries. So
forget about the 2020 year, Mike.
I think everyone can really forget about 2020.
Let's try and do that anyway.
So if we look at it, right, he does everything well.
Yeah,
he's a rising player.
Yeah,
and he is a 4-3 defensive end.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I've got.
So if he is available at 24.
Pull the trigger.
Is that a solid pick to make?
Yes,
or
because I have a first round grade. The concern with him is his tackling, that he tries to hit too high, and when he does, he misses. And the other one with it as well is his vision, that you will see play action particularly. And, ACC and all the rest of it, that there's a lot of that going on over there. So when they are trying to gather time up on play action pass, he's the first one to bite on it. He will bite on the misdirection and the play action every time. So like I say, limited vision in that sense, but he just needs to develop, because like you say, he spent a lot of time JUCO, so he needs to develop his skills as a defensive end. Like I say, good in everything, but not elite at any one particular thing. So that's what you're trying to get him to do. So you really, what you want to do is to take him, develop his skills as a defensive end, and then you'll find out why he's elite at. And that's the trouble. That's why he's lower. He's the 4th defensive end on my board for that reason.
Yeah. So anything else from you on him, Paul? Or
I will mention the fact that hold on a second. Let me bring him back up here. I just had him resetting here.
And just as Paul is looking there, folks, don't be afraid to jump in, send us in your comments, send us in who your pet cats are for the position.
And if you think we're wrong or right,
Paul will pull up comments as they come in and as they're relevant. So don't be afraid to interact. As we say, otherwise this is just the three of us talking amongst ourselves.
Right. So I think I was going to say, I think what we should do definitely is try and do a wee guess to say what is the most drafted by based on each player. So and it's always 3 teams according to. So who was having a stab at the first team at 25%?
I would definitely say with the way things have gone, Dallas are going to be one of those teams. That he's a guy that could fall into their lap, and Dallas would take him.
But my question is, what team is the 25% chance of drafting him?
It's that team I never mentioned.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, they're an earlier pick than us. So yeah, Eagles.
Yep.
Yeah.
At 9%.
That could be Cowboys.
Dallas, yeah.
Spot on. Mm-hmm. And finally, which is a bit of a surprise, this one is at 7%.
If it's a surprise, I have no clue.
Well, I don't see this team drafting them because they're always terrible at the draft. It's the New York Jets.
No, okay. I can see the reasoning behind why they said that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's obviously with their second round pick because I
think that's what's based on, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll live with that one.
I can see, but Mike, you want to say something else there before we moved on, did you?
No. All good.
All right. Who's the next guy?
So the next guy we are going to talk about, and Mike has mentioned him a couple of times already. Boye Mafe.
Yes.
From Minnesota. And I'm starting with the amount of guys we have from the Big Ten in our list tonight. Like normally you would be talking about SEC guys, but a lot of the interior defensive linemen this year are from the SEC. There's a lot of Georgia, a lot of Alabama.
Yeah.
Mike's own Texas A&M also have guys there, and potentially none of them are the best interior defensive linemen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But Boye Mafe, take it away, Mike. 6'4", 265.
Yeah. And just to throw in some of the combine stats since you're giving it, 159 on the 10-yard split. Perfect. I like it. 453 in the 40, which makes him one of the fastest players ever recorded at his size. Which is just crazy. 38 and 125 on the hops, put him in the 90th percentile. So you go, this guy is explosive, and he really, really is. Had a really good Senior Bowl too. Like one of the senior, like Chad Muma was one guy at the Senior Bowl that stood out. Boye Mafe was the other guy for me that stood out. Really good. Again, pass rusher, really good defender. Does all the things that we were saying that Karlaftis does, and some people are starting to argue the point about, is this guy better than Karlaftis? And there are reasons behind why I feel he isn't. But his explosion, his snap anticipation in a straight line, incredibly fast. As we just said, you've heard about his speed there. And like his hands, very, very quick, can run and chase, which Karlaftis can't do. Or it hasn't, isn't able to do as well. His feet are incredibly fast as well, really loose, really nimble. Like I say, everything there. The issue with him, which is what Karlaftis doesn't do, is Mafe won't let his pads rise. So you'll see quite early on in the games too, he's standing up quite tall, which says to me, I would prefer to use him in a 3-4 defense. As opposed to a 4-3, which is what the Cowboys adopt and use. So I'm wanting to put him more as a 3-4 defender in an odd front.
That's exactly the one I have.
Yeah, and you can use him in a range of different ways. Give him a range of responsibilities out there. First player. So like some other stuff I've put in here, that he does stand up well against the run, but he can get very pursuit conscious. So if they try and use like some misdirection moves on a run, he'll bite and try and pursue the run, and then he'll be out of position. So you see that a lot with him, which is an issue.
So I'm just looking at before the combine and how he was projected. So before the draft, you're talking about in range between the 59th to the 87th pick. It could have been anywhere along that region. Since then, he's now projected between as high up as 31 and as low as 36 now. Like he is definitely going to be like it could possibly be a late first round and early second round now. So, but if he was to fall, but just to kind of go back to DJ Dog's comment, if Maffey's there at 56, I would not be mad if he pulled the trigger on that. I would not be mad.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I'll try and give you an idea of my score was an 84.3. So literally by 0.7 of a point off a first round grade. And you don't give out that many first round grades anyway, because it's quite hard to get. But Maffey is right there on almost the cheater grade, that 1-2 cheater grade. But
I had seen that point there that DJ Dog did bring up. He did spend time working with Aidan Hutchinson leading into the Senior Bowl, and that has helped elevate his stock up. For me, he's an 82, so I would say he's more of a second round grade. But the one knock I would have on him is he's still developmental. He's not going to be an immediate starter. So I wouldn't draft him at 24 because you're not getting an impact starter, which is what this team needs. Whichever side of the ball they go, they need an impact and they need it straight away because that window is closing quick. So I don't think we've time to develop him, but maybe.
The only thing I will say is I think with Maffey, I agree he is developmental, that you can still start him, this season if you want to. I do agree he needs development. But I think a lot of it is watered down with Maffey because of how talented the pass rusher group, the defensive end group is. That you've got a lot of these guys, like the guys we just spoke about, Hutchinson, Thibodeau, all those guys, Walker, one of my favorite guys is Nick Bonito. Brilliant if you wanted to just a pure just a pure pass rusher. There's your guy. If you want him as that DPR type role. And I think with Maffey, there's a lot of it that gets watered down because of the talent that's around in the draft with him.
Yeah.
That's a big issue.
Before we move off Maffey, you just kind of made the point there about him being watered down.
Yeah.
And it's something I've kind of been thinking in recent weeks. Are the two top guys, are Kayvon Thibodeau and Aidan Hutchinson, these as we say every year, it's generational players. Are either of them a Joey Bosa?
Hutchinson is, yes.
Yeah.
I have concerns with Thibodeau. And funnily enough, when Paul and the guys last week did the mock draft, I noticed Thibodeau coming down, and like a lot of people surprised, going, wow, Giants not taking Thibodeau or, whatever. And in some reasons, like that ties in with it, purpose, whatever. I agree because of comments Thibodeau has made in interviews that bring me to concern about having draft him with like a top 10 pick. He is talented, but some of the things I have question marks, like, I chose to go to Oregon in the Pac-12, although I had an offer from Alabama. because the competition in Alabama and the football is too much. And you go, whoa, hold on now. You're supposed to be the slam dunk first round pick. Why are you worried about the level of competition and how much football you'd have to play at Alabama? You're about to go into the NFL, where that is now just multiplied by 100.
Yeah. And it feeds into that whole question. Does he actually love the game?
There definitely is. Yeah, because that was another comment that he made. Another one he made was, I can't remember, and he said something about another university, and he said, no, they're too much about football. And it's like, you're about to be a top 10 pick in the NFL. Maybe he said it by accident or whatever, but the thought process was there with him where he said it. And you're going, wait a minute, you're saying it's not all about football. How much do you love about football then? Because these NFL teams are about to spend a lot, not just the draft pick. The draft pick is expensive in itself, but they're about to give you, 7-8 million for a draft pick that high for your position. So it's millions. And I just find the comment he made weird. Yeah,
agreed. Paul, anything you want to add on Boye Mafe before we move along?
No, I'm good to go, man.
You're good to go. So the next guy we are going to talk about is Kingsley Enagbare. I don't have a ranking for Kingsley at the minute.
Okay.
Edge out of South Carolina. I can't make up my mind on him yet. So 6'4", 265. He is a senior. So he has played a lot of football.
Yeah.
He is a hybrid edge, and he can play in a defense that is multiple with his fronts. So if you're reading that kind of a statement and you're listening to what Dan Quinn wants to do with this defense, of wanting the defense to be multiple and being able to play 3-4, 4-3, 5-2, is this a guy that you could look to add?
Yeah, I'm just checking something a minute because I am absolutely certain on this statistic. Yeah, it's the only other one is Marjay Sanders. I need to check. Yeah, here's one for you then that I can instantly make you lick your lips to. And I put this in a stat. I do the college stats every now and then on a post. But Enagbare, he actually has the very high, by a long way, and it's more than Aiden Hutchinson. It's more than Kayvon Thibodeau, that he has the highest pass rush win rate. That when he's asked to rush the passer, he has won the most. He hasn't been asked to do it as much as the others because, as you say, he's a hybrid player. They have used him effectively just as a defensive end, and he pretty much has only been that way his entire college career. But this guy he is insanely powerful. He never done a bench press, and I wish he did at the combine because I reckon he would have smashed it. Guy, strong, powerful hands, arms, super powerful. He is just, you watch it, and he looked ripped anyway. But this guy, I can't believe that some people are like, for me, of all the ones we're talking about, this guy is the diamond in the rough. He's the guy that could quite easily explode onto the scene. Very strong, like I say, violent hands, forceful upper body. You never see him out of a play. But that is also part of his weakness, is that he can get out of control and work himself out of action. And Paul, playing defensive line, knows exactly what that means, that you can actually play so hard and so physical, you take yourself out the game. And that's what he's like.
Like that's kind of what I'm seeing here is, he's experienced in an even offense or in an even front, and he can play 3-4 outside linebacker. His best position is in the 2-point stance as a rush linebacker, which feeds into that whole thing of being a hybrid. If you draft this guy, are you looking at putting him in that position where we've kind of been playing Micah Parsons this year, and then you're moving Micah to his true position as a linebacker?
I think we need to put Micah as his linebacker regardless what we do. Like we cannot play him at end. We can't.
Yeah.
He has played both in a 2 and a 3 point stance. He has played a lot of the season, and you see him. Basically with the way the Gamecocks play their game is they do move their defensive ends in a rotation in that way that they'll move them about back and forth, which is why they like to play that hybrid system quite a lot. Like you say,
I'm generally concerned of how he's trending right now. Before December, he was touted to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
And he's drastically fell down, and he's like, you're now talking about he's within between pick 50 and pick 70. Now,
I've got him as a 3rd round grade.
So he's drastically fallen down over the course of the season.
Yeah. I think some of it would have been after the Senior Bowl. That there was nothing wrong with his Senior Bowl, but there was nothing good about it either. The issue with him, the biggest problem that people have with him is consistency. That you're going to see that, and it's going to be a comment that they make time and time again, that he's got an issue with consistency. His motor will, like, he literally almost purposely sometimes will get blocked so he doesn't have to play that play, if that makes any sense to you. And you can see that he's doing it. But for me, I would agree with you that although he played both as a 3 and a 2 point stance, I would agree that he's better in the 2 point stance and the 3-4 defense, purely because of that motor to give him time to breathe back there.
Yeah. So the last guy we're gonna look at, and this was a special request from the Godfather himself, Jamie, who was supposed to be on and then flaked out on us as usual. So Arnold Ebiketie.
Yes.
So he is Penn State again.
Yeah.
As we say,
transferred from Temple. Transferred from Temple.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, is that he played all right in over at Temple, and he was one of those, like, like the Jabril Cox effect. I want to put myself in a higher team, see how I come out on the other end, like he did with LSU. But you went to Penn State, and he looked even better.
Blew it up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Again, another guy with a high pass rush win rate. Not that far off of the guy we just spoke about. It is a crazy athlete. Let me see if I can get his statistics up, because it is crazy. His vertical jumps and broad jumps were all in the high 90s, so it just goes to show how explosive he is. Arm length is adequate, wingspan is adequate, hand size is big as well. So in that terms, there's nothing wrong with him. Very powerful hands. And here's one of the things I will say about Ebiketie that I like, is that in terms of learning curve, of trying to learn how to be an efficient pass rusher with a plan, and about stacking offensive linemen up through plays. This guy, his learning curve is going to be very shallow. He's already like a veteran pass rusher, is the best way to describe what he's doing. It's crazy to watch how far. His biggest issue is I'm pretty much certain, if I'm trying to figure it out, that he's a redshirt senior, and his development obviously has come late, but he is going to be old coming into the NFL. That he's going to be 25, 26 coming in. So that is a big issue. I give you some other issues with him. So he can play too high at times, which impacts obviously leverage, as we know. And he's not a natural bender, so he won't. He doesn't look natural when he's trying to bend around the edge. And he's not the first guy off the snap either. That's another big one.
Yeah. Like the read I have on him is he's going to be a designated pass rusher.
Yeah, like
and
Nick Benito that we
going to
mentioned
work
earlier.
you're going to work a small menu or a small playbook with him for his rookie season and hope that you have that continued development from Temple through the Nittany Lions and into an NFL team. So obviously this guy he's a second rounder, potentially right on the cusp of being a third rounder as well. But
yeah, I got second round on it.
Yeah. With the fact that this guy won't be starting and you don't take a defensive end in the first round, is this something you would consider in the second round? Or
absolutely.
even the third round if he drops that far to you?
If
you haven't taken one.
Third round, absolutely, because if you feel like you can still have a little bit of development, that you know that the talent it can be there. I mean, look at when you look at over the course of the years of all the guys we have drafted in second and third rounds, have developed and become absolute starters. Tyron Crawford, DeMarcus Lawrence, like we were now seeing Odigizua, we're seeing Neville Gallimore really starting to come out, and but the thing is though, they're still progressing as they go along.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Neville got injured last year, but when it comes to like what we're talking, any guys coming into the second and third round, it's worth the gamble. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it does feed into the thing. You can never have too many edge rushers anyway. So
absolutely.
True.
And just to add on top of that, like the Penn State's defense have always been robust. So from what even though you transfer from Temple to Penn State, he is going to learn he may have learned from something from Temple, and he's went over and he's learned something, and he managed to, it's just all about the knowledge of that as well. And that's one thing, if this Penn State really does well, is bringing knowledge to these football players. One, Micah Parsons, two, Sean Lee as an example. Even though they're linebackers, but it will be transferred on a defensive lineman as well. They have a good program over there. So if we can get him in the third round, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah. Third round is good. I mean, like I say, he's consistently productive, and I can guarantee you will go through his games and you'll just see like tackle for loss, sack, pressures. Always, at least in every game, there will be a number in there because he's doing it. And tackles obviously, but that's without saying. My biggest trouble with him is the age part, and also that when you think about his age as well, and it was something that I put on my notes just as a pointer, is that he's got his age, so developmentally, in physical wise, he hasn't got that much further to go, and he's not very powerful. He's not powerful at all. He wins more with his bag of tricks and bag of tools that he has, rather than with any practice. You will not see a bull rush from him at all, because he's just that type of guy. And that's really what it is with him. Like I say, his snap anticipation is bad. That is a bad thing. But like I say, that's not really his style of how he wins. But you've just got to know that that's his style of play. So that's something you've got to take into account if you do draft him. Yeah.
So, unless we've anything more from you on Ebikate, we are going to throw it over to you, Paul. You asked for some time to talk about Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis.
It's more Georgia. It's more Jordan Davis. I'm bloody love to bits.
Right, take it away. The floor is yours.
I don't really know what it is, but for a defensive interior an interior defensive lineman to be that absolute broad, it would take, like, this guy would eat up double teams for breakfast easily. Eat it up and still put the pressure and get into the backfield. We saw that in his highlight videos and stuff like that. So, listen, like if either one of those guys were to fall on our laps at 24, I would not be surprised if we pulled the trigger on that. Like I'm generally I'm saying this, like I just really don't know what we're going to do in this draft this year. I really don't. Of all the years of us doing this is the first time I really think it's going to be a best player available, and that's something I normally don't ever say, because my heart would say, like, if I was to choose something, it would have been guard, try and fix the issue that we've got. But when you've got players like Sir Wyatt and Davis there, who have been absolutely phenomenal for Georgia, how can you not pass up on that? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Wyatt, my issue is obviously the knee injury. That's the first one. He is a phenomenal. You can't go wrong with any of the Georgia defensive line players or linebackers. You literally can't. Jordan Davis, I mean, okay. You're going to say, like, do you take a pure, because he is a one tech in the first round, and he's only got one trick in the bag. I mean, albeit it is an amazing trick he's got, but he's a strong, strong tackler, pure anchor guy. Can shed, can chase, as we know, because the guy is rapid as hell. Blew up like all the highlight. At the combine, he was the biggest winner with what he did. You can say that you would want to see more of a pass rush from him, because that is where he's lacking. But he's more of that space eater in the run game. That's really what he is. And that is the issue that people will have in terms of drafting him in the first round. Do you take a pure run stuffing defensive tackle, nose tackle, if you like, that early? And that's where people are going to find it rich with him. But if that is a particular part of your defense that is missing, you're getting one of the best, and one of the best in recent years, because the guy is crazy, and his balance, his quickness, it's all crazy. It's crazy to watch with him. It doesn't make sense, but the guy can do that.
See, I love DJ Dog's comment on this. In the first few rounds, if we draft any Georgia player in that defense, I would be very happy with that regardless. Like, is that a whole Georgia defense without a doubt, one of the highlights of college football last year?
I mean, like I say, me and Brian in the season, we were talking, we just like saying that this defensive line is an NFL defensive line.
And here's the thing. I don't normally watch college football, but I know for fact,
of Georgia's.
Anytime I do get a chance to see it, it was mostly the Georgia defensive line. I was just like, and it was so enjoyable to watch.
The entire box, when you look at the linebackers, they were all the same as well. And like you can go, like we was talking about the Georgia lines. So you need a Kobe Dean, and the other guy, Quay Walker. People just don't realize that. And then the one guy that nobody talks about, who's in this year's draft as well, is Channing Tindall. Again, another Georgia guy. It is crazy to watch that you've got defensive tackles, linebackers just coming out the woodwork in Georgia. Like you say, you can't go wrong with any of them. We talk about Trayvon Walker, then we go on and talk about, Jordan Davis. It is the talk. It is the talk. And Jordan Davis, if the Cowboys did draft him at 24, I would be happy, because think about this, right? We was talking about this before. What is right now, we'll call it 50% of your defense? It's Micah Parsons. So in order to keep Micah Parsons being my best part of my defense, what am I going to do? Well, I'll do that by helping him out, by completely clogging the middle up. And I'll clog the middle up with this massive Jordan Davis spacey who's just going to tackle anything that comes in through the middle. If there's anyone trying to play gap power, Jordan Davis is going to make sure that that's swept up. That does two things. Keeps Micah Parsons fresh and keeps him being able to move around back there, confusing offenses. And that's how I see the Jordan Davis bet. I'd be quite happy with it.
I'm going to be honest and say this. I hope Jordan Davis is gone before we get to our pick.
Yes, to make it less difficult.
I just hope he doesn't land up in the Heroes, which is the most likely scenario. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. He could, because I think the issue with him is he's not a 3-down player.
No, he's not. Agree.
He's not. He doesn't have a second move. It's one move, and you've seen it, and teams can plan for it. So, what's he going to develop? He spent most of his time playing as a 3-tech, and we have an abundance of 3-techs. Hill,
we've got way too many 3-techs.
Also Diggy Zua. We've too many of them. So why take another 3 technique? So I'm hoping that headache is removed, because if it gets to 24 and he's there, a lot of people are going to be in love and select, take him, and we could miss the player that we need. And I'm fearful. Of taking him.
One of the things that people worry about with Jordan Davis, but you're not going to do it in the NFL, as you just mentioned. He's not a 3-down player. You're going to use him on early downs, and then in those obvious, those obvious passing situations, you're going to bring him off the field, because there's no need for him to be there, because he's going to cover your A gap on runs. Really, that's what you're using him for. But people will talk about how he is, like he was in Georgia, he struggled as the game went on. That his fitness levels and stamina levels are bad. Well, look, in the NFL, you're not going to keep him on the field all the time. You know what I mean? 50 snaps, and maybe less. 40 perhaps, depending on the situation that you're playing in that particular game. I think he'd be. I think he'd be great. My comp from is Derek Brown, so there it is. And
I've seen that.
Here we go. Yeah, and just to give it to you, right? I'll just hand all this out. The information for you is physical and is measurables, and you'll just go, Jesus Christ. So, first of all, his height and weight was in the 98th percentile, right? So, wingspan, 81 and 1/8, 74. Arm length, 34, that's 77. Hand size, 10 3/4, 93. 10-yard split, so this is where it went stupid. 168, which is good. That's above the 80th percentile. 40-yard dash, 478, 98th percentile. His jumps, so 32 and 123. So one in the 80th and one in the 99th percentile.
Yeah.
It's just an animal, just a physical beast.
Yeah.
You're not going to go wrong with him. You can't. Like I say, everything, all my numbers are in the green with Jordan Davis. I know this is defensive end, and I know I'm just getting on to the talking about Jordan Davis chat. But yeah, I mean, like, for me, Devontae Wyatt, number 2 defensive tackle, my issues are, which I'm not sure about, was the knee injury, but he was in the Super Bowl, and he did do fine. He did do fine in the Senior Bowl. So it kind of eliminates some of the questions, but I think with Wyatt, there's still going to be people who will have issues with it whenever they've gone to the combine or they've done medicals on him.
Yeah.
And that would be about my my chat on that.
Sorry, I was just looking to see if there was any breaking news before we did go off the air. There doesn't seem to be anything. But Paul, is there anything else coming through there on comments or anything that we haven't addressed for people this evening?
Joe was talking about even Alabama players do usually good in the NFL, which is true. I
don't know. Was Joe throwing shade there at someone or anything?
Georgia,
yeah. Because I think across the last two drafts, like we've had, there was 11 or 12 LSU players drafted in 2020, something similar for Alabama last year.
Yeah.
And we'll probably see the same from Georgia this year.
Georgia have a lot, yeah.
Yep. There's not really many other comments since the last one. We were talking about the last comment from DG Dog with regards to the 3 rounds if we draft a Georgia player. Take it, you know. So but other than that, we're pretty much up to date.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get out of here, we'll obviously pay the bills.
Hold on then. Let me get over here. There it is.
So if you are going to a game in 2022, make sure you get in touch with the folks over at Cowboys Experience. Barry and the team will look after you. Paul, take it away.
Yes, so if you are going to the Dallas Cowboys game next season, be sure to go with Cowboys Experience for the ultimate meet and greet, tailgating, and game day package experience, and much, much more. Like I said, guys, I've used Cowboys Experience for many occasions, and like I said, Barry, Michael, all the staff at Cowboys Experience will treat you like absolute royalty. But just remember, guys, if you are planning on to the game, be sure to use the code UK Cowboys, because, guys, what do you do if you use the code?
Free stuff.
And chocolate pudding.
Yeah, and go on, sorry.
Go on, Mike.
No, go on, you go for it, brother.
As always, make sure you follow all of our fellow content creators. They are pumping out news to beat the bandwidth. You have the guys from the Cowboys' own media, you have the team over at Blogging the Boys, of which Paul is a part of. We have Dallas Cowboys for Life, the Baracho Cowboys, J-Talk, all of those guys put out brilliant pieces. Make sure and give them all a follow.
Wow, there we go. Defensive end. Done and dusted in the works.
Because I am literally just about to join RJ as well. I think I'm joining RJ actually, just double checking. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Next week we're going back over linebackers, bro.
Yes.
The other linebackers.
And you mentioned one we're definitely talking about next week.
Yeah, so it looks like we're kind of going back over it because then there's linebackers, wide receiver, yada yada yada. But Thursday we are with Kyle Yeomans.
Ooh, nice. Very nice.
And we're trying to get Jeff Cav back in the mix with us. So that should be fun. I haven't decided what we're talking about yet, and he's going to want to know, so I better sort that out.
He's going to want to spend a whole hour talking about Sky Moore. Just let him talk.
All right, then. So,
So, Friday evening, or Thursday evening, 9 o'clock here in Ireland and the UK. I think it's 4 o'clock now, Texas time. Because I think they're into daylight savings, so...
they're 5 hours difference now, right now.
Yeah, so 4 p.m. in Texas. Yeah. 9 p.m. for us, 4 p.m. Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, but that will change again this weekend because our clocks go forward.
And then it's all back to crap again.
Yeah, back.
There we are then. All right, well, I'm going to hit the video.
See you guys.
See you Thursday.
You can try to break me. I cut my teeth on people like you. It's gonna take a lot more to take me down. I'm a step ahead, watch me wear my crown. Don't need a night to cut the cake and count the dragons that I've slayed. You can give it all you got, cause love is running through my veins. Oh, this line can't be tamed. There's fire